Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Dinnerhe as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves Laufey the Iceland Symphony Orchestra with I Wish You Love. Now, just before we get into it, I have listened to a bit of Laufey before, and they're slowly becoming one of my favorite musicians within the genre, so we're going to listen through this track from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. Oh.
Bluebirds in the spring, to give your heart a song to sing, and then a kiss, but more than this, I wish you love. And in July,
oh man,
to cool you in some leafy glade, I wish you health and more than love. I wish you love, my breaking heart, and I agree that you and I could never be. So with my best, my very best, I set you free. I wish you shelter from the storm, a cozy fire to keep you warm, but more so when snowflakes fall, I wish you love.
I'll go back a little bit so we can appreciate what I presume is going to be a solo, but isn't it just an incredible song? It's just so effortless with the development of it instrumentally. Laufey's vocals are phenomenal. The way that she stares straight at you and the camera addressing you, it connects well with the lyrics. You know, it's just such an endearing situation. I love that you can see all the instrumentalists in as well as behind her. I love the feel of it. I love the tones and textures and times and instruments and how Laufey's vocal melodies navigate over everything else going on. I will try not to interrupt this again, but just I love everything that's going on here. Very syncopation there. Oh, that chromatic.
Breaking heart, and I agree that you and I could never be. So with my best, my very best, I set you free. I wish you shelter.
I mean, are you getting chills? Because I'm getting chills, man.
To keep you
Oh.
but most of all when snowflakes fall, most of all when snowflakes fall, I wish you love, love, love.
Great use of the beltry at the end. We're going to talk about this track more in a moment in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Laufey and the Iceland Symphony Orchestra titled I Wish You Love. Now, before we get into this, I just want to share a note that I received from Dinnerhe about this track. Apparently, Laufey comes from a musical family. Her grandfather is one of the best violin educator in China. Her mother is a classical violinist in Iceland Symphony Orchestra. And so I can only imagine the pride that their mother has about the fact that they're potentially going to perform with their daughter on stage. I think that's a tremendous thing. They'd be so proud of them. Apparently, their twin sister Junior is also a violinist and a creative director. Although some people think they criticize her that her work is more pop than jazz, I don't think that it is a problem. And to be honest, I don't think it's a problem either. I think that it's fantastic that we are able to fuse those two styles of music together. I think that for the longest time, jazz and pop were very different. I think jazz was often seen by people as being more sophisticated, and that could be me projecting, but that's the inference I got from a lot of people and a lot of musicians that I interacted with over the last 20 years doing music. And for us to be more comfortable integrating those two together, I think is fantastic. I think it's really, really good. So I like what Laufey's doing. But, you know, like, what is this track about? I think if we go over to here, we've got the lyrics on here, and just excuse the website. You know, excuse this website. Genius, it's just absolutely terrible. This is as big as I can get it. I can't get rid of this. But effectively, you know, I wish you bluebirds in the spring to give your heart a song to sing and then a kiss, but more than that, I wish you love. And in July, lemonade to call you in some leafy glade. I wish you health and more than wealth, I wish you love. And so I think from those lyrics alone, you know, they talk about my breaking heart, and I agree that you and I can never be. So with my very best I set you free. I think that this track is effectively trying to communicate that this is about Laufey having to let go of someone that they love. And I think it's a tremendously sad thing that a lot of people have to go through. It's very difficult to come to terms with that. And I feel really bad for anyone who can kind of relate to that. But this is what Laufey is discussing within this. You know, they're wishing the best. It's a very mature response to it. And they've written a song about it, where I think this is one of my favorite Laufey performances. I think in terms of the actual vocals, like the fact that they can stare into the camera, sing an intro with some sort of pizzicato, kind of like pluck parts on a cello, and just go through the song with this phenomenal vocal technique, you know, with the head, chest, and mixed voice, they're up in that higher range, lots of legato and vibrato, just a phenomenal effort all around on that instrument. But for us to also be able to express ourselves that articulately and intimately in a way that's extremely authentic, in a very classy and sophisticated way, but to also be able to play the cello at the same time, the violoncello at the same time, and to also be able to do solo sections as well is a masterstroke. It's just incredible. And I feel like, you know, Laufey could have definitely have done enough simply just being on her own and just singing like that, but we decided to go further with it, and we excelled. I just feel like it was an absolutely flawless performance from a musician who was incredibly capable and very impressive, and I'm incredibly stoked that I had the chance to listen to this for this alone. It's great to see them live, and they smashed it. And that is the mark of a musician, is to be able to play just as well live as they do in the studio, because there's a whole lot of stuff in the studio you can do to make a performance better, and Laufey didn't need any of that. I think it's testament also to the experience and polish in terms of songwriting and composition that structurally it was just so sensational. Like, we got straight into it again with those plucks and Laufey telling the story there, just her by herself for a bit, and then suddenly we have other instrumentalists within the string section come up with like violin and viola parts and stuff like that, and it just builds and builds, and there's a contrast between those more percussive plucked parts and then the held notes there that are bowed, and then we just continue moving forward there. The drums come in with this fantastic, if I'm not mistaken, a samba, a kind of shuffle there. It's either a bossa nova or a samba there, and they push forward with that in a very kind of chilled, relaxed way, which adds a sense of groove and pace to it. But it's a very kind of like that Latin American kind of like feel to it, adds a sense of flair and romanticism to it. And I think that the strings, in addition to that, add a sense of nostalgia and remind me a lot of music from like the mid 20th century. And I appreciate that, even though I was not around back then. It sounds like it could be put on a vinyl record back in the olden days. You know what I mean? And there's a great mixture of other instruments as well, such as like shakers and like there's bell trees and all these other wonderful things. And it's a really well fleshed out composition, but it's just the way we go between these different verse parts there and the choruses. We have bridges as well, and it's just so incredible. And we do have a solo section as well from Laufey, which is wonderfully articulate. We navigate the chord progressions incredibly well with lots of extended chords there, sevenths and such, but we also have some sort of like chromatic notes there that we kind of flirt with even at some points, and that's just to show a recognition of their talent to be able to get away with that. It's flawless, dude. It's just such these are musicians who are so beyond understanding the diatonics and stuff that they smash it out of the park. And the use of syncopated rhythms here just adds a sense of fullness to the overall feel of the track that adds a bit more energy and warmth to it. So I feel like with the frequency spectrum filled up with the various instruments with a wonderful lush sound to it, lots of interesting stuff happening rhythmically with like a relative like chillness that kind of allows it to not become too emotionally charged, especially because I feel like Laufey is trying to keep a measured response to this. They're trying to keep a brave face. You know, they're trying to be strong about this and wish them all the best, even though it hurts them. The rhythm section, the strings, etc., everything else kind of replicate that really neatly. And I just think that outside of the structure, outside of the instrumental performances there, with these extended harmonies, it communicated extremely well there in a way where there's never any sharp edges, even if there are some points where there's a bit of tension that is later resolved, just thus making the music more exciting. The theme overall kind of almost makes it seem like it's a day in the life. It's almost like for Laufey, the fact that she's having to let go of this person and wish them well, it's almost like it's a combination of that going on a new adventure, but also they just accept that that is just what it is. It's as it is. You don't have control over that. And it's almost like if there was any tension, any sort of like minor or flat second chords or anything like that, if there was any sort of like harsh edges, it would be a sense of resenting or disputing that reality. And I don't think that's what Laufey is trying to do here. And so ultimately, I just feel like thematically it's very strong there. It communicates a similar feeling to what's going on with the lyrics in terms of like the chord choices and stuff like that. The feel of it, the style is authentic to the style of vocals. Everything matches. It's also an incredible instrumental performance overall. It's very, very, very tight. I'm blown away by what we've managed to accomplish here, and it's fantastic again to see it in a live setting and also to see all the other instrumentalists involved, because you don't always get that. But finally, studio recording, mixing, and mastering is fantastic. I really appreciate the quality of the recording. I'm not actually sure how they managed to get it sounding so clean. I envy it. I genuinely do. I would love to know who did the mixing and mastering for this. They were spectacular. It is commercial grade. You can hear it Laufey as well as everything else going on in the mix with the strings, the drum kit, bells, shakers, etc. Everything is heard there. No complaints whatsoever. Wonderful use of EQing to balance things, and the stereo field is well fleshed out as well. There is dynamic range to this, not just within the actual composition, but also within the performance itself. And I just like the fact that in the actual performance itself, there's just a wonderful amount of like life to it as well. It's not like in post they needed to do a lot to kind of glue it or to also be able to like get it to breathe. It's just that they allowed there for there to be spaces within the performance itself, and they actually wrote these bits to not clash with one another, which made it easier there, I think, as well. But it was nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting is handled. And effectively, that's just my really positive review of this track from an act named Laufey with this Iceland Symphony Orchestra titled I Wish You Love, live at the Symphony, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as neither help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next SB Patrons video. Spiderhands out.